Welcome to Real Flix Reviews, like a book club for people hate reading. This month's theme is random, so James picked the movie Funny People, made in 2009, and he brings you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Ryan Preston.
Hey, and the old guy's here.
Hey there.
So here is the lovely description of such an amazing movie called Funny People. When seasoned comedian George Simmons, Adam Sandler, learns of his terminal inoperable health condition, his desire to form a genuine friendship causes him to take a relatively green performer under his wing as an opening act. And holy shit, this description was better than the actual movie.
Okay, so obviously I'm going to have to be defending myself here. So I'm going to be going first.
Hey, you and me both, buddy. I'm with you on this one.
The reason why I picked this movie is because when I watch this one, this is what I see Adam Sandler's life as. Not the fact that he had like terminal cancer or some crap like that, but the fact of what he went through with his comedy career. Because if you look at his career, he started off really great, had a bunch of movies, and then there was like this time where he made crappy, shitty, stupid-ass movies.
I don't think that's ended yet.
And then he comes around and he turns his career around, and he starts actually getting into serious roles where he can actually act, not too serious, like Punch Drunk Love, Spanglish, this one I put in there. But, you know, for me, it's basically looking at like a Rorschach joke.
He made Jack and Jill, there's no excuse.
In Watchmen, where at one point he got sick and tired of making people laughing all the time. Because that's pretty much what he was doing all the time. For a long time, he had his own little CDs that he was putting out. Remember the CDs, Ryan?
Oh, of course.
That he put out in like the early 90s. Some of those were pretty funny, but some of them were just stupid and crude.
I'll be completely honest. I don't think I've laughed at any movie of Adam Sandler's done since Waterboy.
Waterboy was a great movie.
That's about, I don't know if I would say great, but
that's what this movie to me encompasses. And if you actually look at it, that's basically what the premise of the movie is. You even have James Taylor making a joke at the dude. Can you make a joke without, including your dick?
Do you ever get tired of talking about your dick?
Yeah. Thank you. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And that's what this movie is to me. It's saying what needs to be said about comedy. Comedy is not funny when it's complete and utter potty jokes and stupid grown men being stupid babies.
Well, it's to me, it's a total insider movie. You know what I mean? It's also for people who didn't necessarily just grow up with Adam Sandler, but grew up with that person. You know what I mean? Whoever your Adam Sandler was. You know what I mean? From your youth. For most of us, me and James's age and John's age, it was Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
You know, remember all of his CDs and his goofy
Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey
stuff that was on Saturday Night Live. And so, the first time seeing this movie, I'm pretty sure I Googled, was Adam Sandler sick? Because the shit just seems so real and so personal. You know what I mean? Like, not just this like disease part. That was almost kind of just the briefcase that kept the plot going along of how much this guy is unsatisfied with his life, where everybody around him thinks that he should be, terrifically happy with everything that's going on. And like you said, at some point in the movie, he's like, I don't like it, but I'm addicted to it probably.
Yeah.
It's a side of a celebrity that, I don't know, it humanized him more than I ever would have thought anything could. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. They humanized him.
There are a few things in this movie I actually did laugh at, believe it or not. One, any scene when they were riffing on each other. The comedy, stand-up comedy scenes and the scenes where they're just crapping on each other, that was funny.
Some of the stand-up comedy scenes.
The other part I thought was funny when they're walking, when Seth Rogen was walking to Adam Sandler's garage, saw the cars and said, "Can you sell all these?" It's like, "I can make them all disappear." It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that either. that I thought was funny because those cars are multi.
Well, what he said initially is, which one is his car?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, and the guy went, "What do you mean? They're all his cars."
Well, look, I got into this argument with someone right after this came out because I think the title sort of.
We're losing you. Slow down and speak clear.
I'm speaking clear. It's a shitty internet connection.
Okay.
Wait. You before told us it was an amazing one.
Because I think the title sort of threw them off. Like, it's called Funny People, so they're expecting this Adam Sandler goofy movie. You know what I mean? Those two things, the title and his name, sort of leads you down a road in your mind of what you're expecting. But
IMDb says this is a dramedy.
It is. It totally is.
Oh, it is. I would agree with that.
It's about comedians. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be, balls to the walls funny from end to end.
I just want funny.
It's a real inside look at the community of it, and how kind of shallow it can be at sometimes.
Yeah, I like the fact when they were sitting around the table and they had a bunch of these comedians that we all know. I mean, there was Rob Reiner. There was what's his name? Everybody Hates Raymond guy. Mm-hmm. There was a bunch of those guys all sitting around the table, kind of joking around. Yeah, Paul Reiser. Yeah,
that was the scene I liked, especially when at least you're better looking than this guy. So that was funny.
One of the better scenes. But my problem with the movie was about an hour too long. I really believe that they could have condensed.
I think you should add 30 minutes to that.
All right, hour and 3 minutes. I really believe that they drug it out. There was an awful lot of added material that I think the movie would have been better if it was actually shorter.
I don't even think I noticed, man.
I sure did.
I only became aware of the time like once or twice, but the story still felt like I had to keep. There was still something that I was waiting.
I think the difference. Hold on.
What I think for this is the difference between the reason you liked it and you think the timing's right is because you're kind of an insider. We're doing this show. Your thing is movies. You like movies, so you can absorb all of the material. For me, sitting back looking at it as, okay, now I want to look at this movie in a way that I can critique it. And yes, some of the material was funny, but some of it really went too long. Some of the scenes, I think, were just drug out to get this movie to 2 hours and whatever many minutes.
For me personally, I actually liked the first half of this movie, up to the point when he was trying to rescue his former love interest from her horrible husband. That part to the end of the movie I hated because it was obvious, it was predictable, and it was boring as crap.
I kind of agree with you on that, but what I get out of it is it shows how shallow and how self-centered he really was.
True.
Because he didn't care the fact that it was going to rip apart this family, and that's what Seth Rogen was there for. Because that's what Seth Rogen kept on being like, dude, do you not realize that you're going to tear apart this entire family?
Yeah, he was the Jiminy Cricket.
So I think that...
a Jewish one.
I will say that at that point, that could be drawn out a little bit too long. But I kind of go with Ryan on this one in the fact that I get lost in the story of this because I'm a fan of comedies. I really do. I like comedies. I like some of the classic things, but I don't think they need to be as crude as they've become. And that's one of the things I like about this movie in the sense that they throw all the crudeness of where comedy has gone into your face continuously in this movie. And you'll see that in a lot of the guys' stand-ups and the way they talk to each other, joke around with each other. And what that brings me back to is, I don't remember what roast it was, but Betty White came up and tore every last comedian up in one of the roasts.
Yeah.
Do you remember what roast that was? Is that Drew Carey?
That was a Comedy Central roast for one. But it was during that stand-up. It was basically, isn't it cute how all these comics have to swear? Back in my day,
exactly.
I had to suggest it.
Well, what it goes to, it goes back to Richard Pryor really coming out and really making every other word's a cuss word or swear word.
But at least his comedy was actually had some depth behind it. Was actually funny instead of.
Well, his was fresh. I mean, this was new.
Yeah.
What he brought to comedy was
funny.
new.
It's funny.
Yeah, he couldn't have gone to the point that the comedians are now and expected to go anywhere at that time.
Right.
He may have wanted to, but he couldn't do it. Not if he wanted to go anywhere with his career. I mean, Bob Saget, amazingly, the only reason why he ever had a career was because he got taken on Full House.
The most unfunny son of a bitch ever. And he's the most dirtiest comedian. The fact he got Full House is very amazing.
Yeah, it's extreme opposite of what his face tells you.
But that's kind of what I think this movie is to me, and that's why I enjoyed this movie, and that's why I think it was one that we should have done, I'm not saying early, but I'm saying now, and I think the only ones that are actually going to give it a decent review are me or Ryan, because of the crudeness of this movie and how the story they tell is not for everybody. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's not a movie I would sit down and be like, "Oh, you haven't seen this movie? Come sit down and watch it."
I personally, I think James is right in a lot of ways. I just think they should have done the last part of the movie better, because spending like the last hour and a half or hour and something at this lady's house, I just thought that point was really drawn out. You know, the continuing conversation between Seth Rogen and Adam Sandler, like, "Oh, dude, you sure you want to do that? Dude, she's married. Come on, man." You know, that after a while, it's just kind of like he doesn't get the point. And then he stays.
And I think that was the point, though, John.
I just,
is
yeah,
that he
I just
didn't get the point.
But after 4 or 5 times, I don't know. I really hated the end. And my girlfriend even fell asleep, and her comment was, "Man, that was a horrible movie."
I struggled to get through it. I be
And I get
honest
that.
with you. You know,
I actually do understand you.
I don't get it at all.
yeah, and that's okay.
I get Rob not being able to having issues getting through it.
I get Rob because
You
Rob,
suck.
we have such an intimate knowledge of Adam Sandler's stuff, and to see this is so meta. You know what I mean? With his old school footage in the beginning of the movie.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
That was well
Right.
done.
Yeah.
It was like oh man, it was like 80% truth. You know what I mean? Mixed
Right.
with 20%, extra story, and it just everything resonated with me. Everything was relatable, even if I wasn't, in his shoes. Everybody's kind of looking at it through Ira's point of view as this, like, wow, that's my reaction if I was hanging out with that kind of a star. You know what I mean?
And honestly, there was at one point, I think late 90s, when I just said, I'm sick of Adam Sandler. I'm sick of the crap that he's putting out. I'm sick of it. And I wasn't paying attention to anything that came out. And then things like Spanglish came out, and I was like, why am I going to go see that? It's just a stupid thing. And Punch Drunk Love, and I'm like, oh, nee. And then I finally actually went back and watched him, and I'm like, wow.
Well,
When did he do that?
I'm personally not a fan of most of Adam Sandler's comedies. I haven't seen Punch Drunk Love or Spanglish. I just haven't taken the time to watch
What
it.
was it? 21st Dates?
Yeah,
No,
I like
50 First Dates.
50 First Dates.
Whatever it was. That was actually very good.
He
I
does
thought.
have movies I do like ish, but I mean, for me not to like it, I'm personally just not a fan of modern comedies. This one is is different in a lot of ways because it's kind of making fun of it. Like Ryan said to me, it's kind of meta, but I just don't like some of the stuff that comes staples. And for me to like even an Adam Sandler movie at this part, it takes a little bit of a hump.
So what I do, my point of view is
What was that, Ryan?
Instead of looking at the movie as an insider, I'm looking at the movie as the average person going to the movies. And that was the problem. And I don't know how well it did at the box office. At that point
I
in
don't know
time,
either.
I think he was still really hot still at that point. And he may have done very well at the box office. I don't know.
It got
but
2 Teen Choice Awards. I mean, not nominations.
Wait, they have teenagers watching this film?
Actually.
Wow.
But I'm the
That's
wrong
pretty bad.
I'm the wrong person to watch since I saw Rambo when it came out. So
Yeah.
Anyways, but my point is just that I think I look at this one differently than most people would, and like I said, I would not take anybody just to watch this one. I had my wife watch it, and I said, hey, you're not going to like parts of this film. You're not going to like the beginning of this film, but just give it a shot and watch it. And she
Right.
did, and she actually said, that was actually a good movie because she gave it the time.
one of my favorite descriptions of this movie is it's a cross between Terms of Endearment and Andrew Dice Clay's stand-up act. It's like, wow.
You know what? That's not a bad description.
What was that, Ryan?
That's unfair.
Not a fair assessment.
Well, to me it is, but obviously I don't like it.
WK.
No, Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Andrew Dice Clay. Seriously though, like
Is he even around anymore?
He's alive.
Dice Man's still around.
But hey, Ryan,
He's in Vegas, I think, right?
Did you enjoy seeing the posters of The Last Detail and John Belushi's 1941 in the apartment? Did you catch those?
Yes, I did. I caught.
I was surprised at that. I didn't notice it the first time.
The movie itself came across more modern than I thought, too. I mean, things were actually more... It didn't age, let's put it that way, as quickly as I thought it would. For its age. When it came out, what year?
2009.
Like, it came out like 09.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
so it was that part.
Oh, that's like
electronics
5 years old.
Yeah.
I was
so that was good. That kept the movie fresh because I really think as this movie gets older, it's going to get staler. To be honest.
So I
understand that.
I do want to ask, since Rob and I are kind of obvious the ones who kind of have an issue with this movie. Like, what were your favorite scenes? Because one of my favorite scenes, honestly, was the second visit to the doctor, when Adam Sandler was kind of screwing with the doctor.
When they were totally messing with
Yeah, like, how did it feel to die at the end of the Die Hard? Stuff like that. So
I don't understand the reference.
Yeah.
So did you have?
He
any
screwed
favorite-
around with the doctor really well. That was a good one.
Any of the parts where they're riffing on each other or doing stand-up act, even some of the more blues stand-up, I actually liked that part.
Well, just
of the
stay away from the roast beef.
So what about
That's
you,
right.
Rob?
Do I have any one particular scene that I liked? Fortunately, no. I don't. I can't think of one thing.
The credits.
Positive scenes that
The
I
credits.
could come up with. I thought it was interesting in the beginning when he thought he was going to die, and he took this fledgling comedian kind of under his wing a little bit, right?
They're very bad.
And kind of mentored him for a little bit, but also used him. He was definitely using him.
Well,
And
especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, right. Especially in the
Well,
beginning.
And especially from the beginning, like when it seemed like he was trying to sort of live vicariously through his excitement about everything. When he's looking out the window of the limousine
Right.
like a puppy,
Right.
you know what I mean? And,
Right.
Sandler's just looking over at him like, "Wow, I remember when I was that excited about this kind of shit."
Yeah.
Well, that's
I think that's a lot of how the relationship between them started, and then it was just okay. Like you said, I mean, it's like I don't have any friends. You're my best friend, and I barely know you.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I'm sure there's people in the industry like that. I mean, how would you like to be chased by this paparazzi that all these stars are constantly? You can't take the trash out in your house.
Well,
You
that
can't
One
walk
guy
anywhere.
brought that up. Like, I can't go to Best Buy. Was that Eminem?
That was
Yeah,
Eminem.
Eminem.
That was
Yeah.
one of the more serious scenes of this movie that I actually thought was not only really well, but probably the only scene that'll age well. Well, if everybody actually knows who Eminem actually is. I
yeah.
love that scene, especially because
Marshall Mathers.
Yeah, because the party's like, man, you should have taken
Well,
that. Because I love the line, man, you should have taken the pill. That was your out right there.
Well,
It's like,
he didn't
oh.
even know who Ray Romano was.
Yeah.
So, that's not saying much for Eminem anyway.
Well, I
Right?
maybe
Who
that
really
says
cares
a lot, like good
who
taste.
Ray Romano is? I don't like Ray Romano.
I think that's.
Ray Romano sucks.
I think
Yeah,
that's
I don't
counting
think
for his
Eminem
good
is
taste.
He doesn't have to do anything in his life. He's made his
It's
money.
not in his demographic.
I think Eminem could give a shit. That might be one of my favorite scenes. Although I was
Yeah.
going to mention, I don't know if, because you said like, oh, what's your, what do you think was the funniest scene? I really, it's hard for me to classify this movie just directly as a comedy. You know
No,
what I mean?
It's a dramedy.
Right.
It's
No, you're right. I don't.
I don't know. It might be more of a drama because all of the moving parts of this movie were all built on the human emotion.
yeah.
And it was really fantastic writing. Sure, everybody loves the quippy remarks between the roommates, and I love Jason Schwartzman and Jonah Hill, and this was freaking awesome. And the chick whose name I wish I could remember.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I liked her.
Yeah, she was good.
Aubrey Plaza, Daisy
There you
Danby.
Daisy,
yeah.
Danby.
So all of those moments were really cool, but I think it was just organic of the type of people that it were, that they were showing.
I would say this had kind of like the later on series of the MASH TV show where it became heavy drama with comedy elements. I think that fit. That's kind of what this was.
Okay.
Because this was mostly drama with comedy being the plot.
Well, I think it's the juxtaposition. Like James brought up the Rorschach joke, the Pagliacci thing. It's the juxtaposition of funny people, and this is what your funny people are actually like.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
dude, I swear to God, it changed the way that I looked at like celebrities. Not like living in LA, you don't run into celebrities every 4 seconds. It doesn't happen.
Especially where you live.
Wait, you haven't met John Belushi yet?
No, I'm still waiting.
Damn.
Still waiting. I'll keep hanging out near Advanced Chinese Theater.
You're gonna be there a while.
I know. But completely lost my train of thought.
Sidetrack.
You're
I just
welcome.
remember seeing Laurel and Hardy at Universal Studios when I was a kid and being devastated when my parents told me that they were dead and that wasn't them.
Aw.
Devastated.
Oh,
Wow,
Yeah,
were your
I
parents
imagine
harsh?
so.
damn! I'm
So-
gonna be really mean. John Belushi's dead.
Changed the way that I felt about I don't think I would ever go up to a celebrity and just say hi anymore, just because I don't know if, especially at a hospital, don't do that.
It's like, hey,
This
can I
is
get
true.
can I get a photograph?
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I loved Mr. Hulk in this Eric Bana. I actually thought his it was kind of random. It was like I didn't particularly see a point to his character at times, but the ending part was
There
amusing when he came out after the fight. I know exactly why this happened. It's bad karma.
It's karma.
Yeah.
I guess I can't do an
Honestly,
Australian
my favorite
accent.
part of the movie was
I
when Adam Sandler's sitting there and he brings out that little tote of all his pills that he's going to take,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
he looks over at him and goes, "I want you to kill me."
Yeah. I have a gun. I want you to take it. I want you to kill me.
That was like the best part of the movie because I could
Really?
totally see myself doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, but would you
I
have
can
somebody
totally
who
see
would?
myself needing to take the night to think about it.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you know somebody who'd go? Can you give me a day to think about it? I mean, I don't know anybody who would say yes. Well, actually, I know James, so he might actually give it some
Well,
thought.
you know, when he sits there and kind of brings up the thing of like, dude, nobody knows that you're here. You know, you wipe your prints up, you're clean.
Wasn't that the plot of Fletch?
Jeez.
Pledge.
So,
Anyway.
so Ryan, I gotta know, what do you give this movie?
Okay. All the ball waxing I just did aside. Wow. This is how short it's at. All
We're just
that
laughing
aside,
at you. That's
I will totally disagree that it was a 45 minutes or an hour too long. I will give it that it might have been about 15, 20 minutes too long,
More.
but there's not much of very many scenes that I would like shave off. You know what I mean? Like, I think this movie played perfectly for all the moments that it had. And I was looking forward to what was coming next right up until the end. So, dude, this is a 5. I fucking love this movie so much. This is an awesome movie. It's something about it just spoke to me.
I think you almost killed the old guy with that comment.
Well, I almost have to make up for what he's about to give it.
well,
So
why
wait,
I
hold
let
on,
me
hold on,
let me
hold on.
understand our rating system somehow, okay? Because I'm back to this confusion. A 5. You say this movie when you give a 5, that means it's an epic,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yes.
No. A 5 by our understanding, is that it went above and beyond your expectations. It's written down. Above and beyond your expectations.
Excuse me.
I'm the one that wrote it down.
Well, okay. So then I think our rating system sucks because I can't believe
You
you would.
suck.
Yeah, I can't believe that you would give this movie a 5.
So
I
before
just can't believe it.
before the old guy gives his rating,
okay.
we're gonna save this for a little bit. James, what do you give it?
You know, I'm still confused as to whether or not Ryan shaves or waxes his balls.
Sounds
Just
painful.
don't use Nair.
Or if you do, please don't show us the
When I think
results.
you find yourself a little deep in these
Excuse
ladies are
me.
pretty discreet. Sorry.
Anyways, you know, I'm
Bay.
pretty much on the same thing with Ryan and the fact that I don't think this needs to be shaved down much. I do think that the
waxed.
whole scene about that, you know, with his ex-girlfriend and her, that whole thing just didn't need to be pushed as long as it did. I don't think that needed to happen. But, you know, I can't go as far as a 5, but I got to give it a 4. I really do. Because for this, but that's because I'm a fan of comedies. I enjoy them, and I followed Adam Sandler's career. I don't expect anybody
First of all,
else
I
to go
think
there.
We should strike John's rating from the record because he's not a fan of modern comedies.
No,
At all.
but
Why on earth would he be rating this movie?
I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna let the old guy go last. I give this a 2 out of 5 because at least I laughed at a couple of parts. But to me, that was the best part of the
Loser.
movie.
It wasn't a comedy.
That was the best part. Period.
Okay.
And so, Rob?
Well, okay, so it's easy for me because no,
I'm
it's
holding
close.
up one finger, Ryan.
If we had halves, it would be, but it is by far not the worst movie I have ever seen. So there's no way I'm going to give it a 1. But I really can't give it more than a 2. Because I could sit down and edit that movie with Jonathan, and I guarantee you I could knock an hour off of that movie and probably improve it. I guarantee
think it'd take the whole 15 minutes off.
But
easily an hour.
So
you see, I'm not surprised by your guys. Well, I am a little bit surprised by Rob giving it a 2, but I'm not surprised.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know we do have a Facebook page. Please tell us what you think. Do you hate our review, our opinions? There's a movie you want us to do, or do you want to donate money to Real Flix Reviews? Let us know.
Let us know if you're Team Ryan and James or Team Johnson.
As you drown out Ryan. And so now is the James news to see if he did a good job in picking movie news. So you're up.
All right, so I have an issue with what we call news these days. It's not news. When I go through and I look and see what movies are out, what do I come across? I come across that, they're releasing a new Marvel movie. We just did that damn movie.
They're always going to be releasing a new Marvel movie.
So I'm kind of the only thing that I could find out that was news is that Groot has a telephone number.
Really?
That's it. I mean, everything else was, we're releasing a new Marvel movie. Oh, we've got this new person doing Witch Hunter. Vin Diesel gluing a beard to his face. Woohoo! We just did the last Witch Hunter. What the hell was it? It was a Nick Cage movie. It sucked. Right?
What's this movie Maze that's coming out?
The movie Maze does kind of look a little interesting, but it's basically... Here, I can actually pull it up.
I'm just curious, because it was the only thing that caught my attention in the theater, really.
But it's out in theater, and it's doing better than... what's it called? Let me pull up IMDb.
Is it Maze Runner?
The Maze Runner.
I have it right here.
But what it seems to me is that it's the same thing that we just did with Hunger Games and Divergent.
That's what I'm wondering.
So here,
that's what it seems like to me. So how is that news?
So here's what it is. Here's the IMDb description. So excuse me if it's not exactly what it is. It says Thomas is deposited into a community of boys after his memories are erased. Soon learning they're all trapped in a maze that will require him to join forces with fellow runners for a shot at escape.
All right, never mind.
See?
So it's a cross. So it's a cross between Hunger Games and Logan's Run.
Yeah.
Too bad.
And
because the trailer looked great.
That's what I'm hearing, and that's what they're putting out as the same thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that Hollywood is out of ideas.
Yeah.
But you can redo something really well. Let's go back into the 90s. What came out in the 90s? Lethal Weapons.
Mm-hmm. Ninja Turtles.
What came out in the 70s? Dirty Harry. So Lethal Weapon is just basically the same thing as a Dirty Harry, but done, in my opinion, a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
I would say,
Sorry.
I would say, I don't know, I think Dirty Harry and Lethal Weapon had a similar thing, except Dirty Harry wasn't really a comedy and Lethal Weapon was. The first Lethal Weapon was more in line with the original Dirty Harry, but after that it was a comedy.
Go watch the first Dirty Harry. There was funny elements in that movie.
I don't think it's as comedic as the
It was
Lethal
not
Weapon.
meant to be.
It was not
that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I laughed.
You laughed, but it was not.
I totally agree with James. Laughing, but it was not meant to be like.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying is that they can do remakes or take an idea and change it a little bit and make something a little bit more original and do something different with it, and it would be okay because Lethal Weapon came out and there was a lot of funny things with it.
Is it possible, because I've been saying this at every show, that we're having trouble with creative new ideas?
That's why I'm saying I can't come up with news because it's not new.
So is it possible that we have actually done everything that can possibly be done?
No.
I say no.
Well, okay, so then why is Hollywood not producing fresh new things?
Because it does not guarantee the bottom dollar.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's what
I was listening to an interview with Ivan Reitman, the guy that did Stripes and Ghostbusters and all that stuff. He basically said it the best I've ever heard anybody say it so far. It used to be all these studios, the major studios, had what you call a tentpole movie. Mm-hmm. A tentpole movie is the movie in the middle that holds up everything else for the rest of the year. You know, it kind of allows you to reach out a little farther and go for these indie ones and do your little side projects and stuff like that, because your one big tentpole movie, you know, sort of supported all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about the rest of the tent anymore. They just care about the pole.
That's true.
That's all that they can guarantee. So that's what it's become. But, you know, it's weird to bring up, you know, Kevin Smith's name and this kind of stuff because, you know, he's what he's been doing for the last few years. But
Right.
he's come out with arguably the most original idea that I've heard in a really long time, where he made a horror movie about a guy being turned into a walrus. Find me anything like that, and I will eat a shoe.
I would want to say the other thing is I think with the creation of cameras that are cheap, that are full 1080p and cheap editing software, I think that's kind of you know, drinking their milkshake a little bit, where they're competing, you know, with people. So what they're doing is they're making movies that are guaranteed to be a hit because they can't risk their money.
But they're not becoming hits. And look at the budgets that we're talking about for these movies now. I mean, it's outrageous
It
what
is.
it costs
It
to make
really
a
is.
movie.
But here's the thing: when you talk about hit, but they're not. From everything I can remember, the last 2 years, they're not really counting how many. They're counting how much money was made. The more money, the bigger their hit, and that's what it really is. Oh, this movie made $200 million. We're going to make 6 more of those because we can milk it for all it's worth.
Okay, I can understand that.
I mean, what do you think, Ryan?
Well, it used to be back in the day, only studios made movies. Nowadays, everybody can make movies. So what's the one thing studios can do that your average guy with a camera can't? Spend $200 million on a movie.
Exactly.
Well, I want to pull up something from Cinema Blend. It was one of the things I was looking through. I want to give them credit before I say it, because what I'm going to do is read a little bit of what they took a snippet out of. Is the guy who made The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, where's his name? Terry Gilliam. Terry Gilliam actually put out and said a controversial director won't use Kickstarter. And this is his quote reason why. Everybody keeps telling me to do Kickstarter. There's something in me that resists it. It seems like it's taking advantage of the fans. I mean, everybody's doing Kickstarters now. People are just throwing money out there in support of these campaigns. I hope some of them, donors, are getting something back, something in return rather than just a signed autograph from somebody. And that's why he won't do Kickstarters, because he's not saying it in words, but he wants to get compensation. He wants money.
But dude, people like you and me love movies, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of these times, like, I think he's misrepresenting what the idea of Kickstarter is. I mean, just did people like us that are into this kind of stuff have a chance to you know, whether it's a few dollars or $100. I mean, everybody's getting back something that's more than a signed autograph. I mean, a lot of these things are like, hey, we're going to invite you to the set for a night.
Yeah.
We'll have a movie night with us and the cast and you know, Joe Schmo.
Before because we're running a little long.
I'm sorry.
I will say that as somebody who's donated to actual few Kickstarters, here's the thing, because most people are going to donate anywhere from $5 to $20, and in that you get very little. You may get a signed autograph, maybe an 8x10, maybe a credit at the end where it's a little text that says thank you. Only generally people who pay thousands of dollars will get set visits, and I guarantee it'll be thousands of dollars. And I think that's the issue. I actually like the fact he said that, because for me, heck, I'd be happy with a name and a credit if it was something I really wanted to see. But I do have to agree with him that it's...
All right, Old Guy Tech TV needs a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Who's going to throw in some money?
Right? So, Ryan...
Okay, hold on. Before we take off, I
think we
do want to
lost
say...
Ryan.
I do got to say for everybody out there who's interested, Groot's number is 866-740-4531. So 866-740-4531. Go ahead and text him. You'll just get I am Groot back. So if you really want to kick.
Right? That's funny.
So we really need
that's
Ryan
funny.
back, because
I want to do that.
So hopefully get Ryan back, because he's
Goodbye.
He's next for telling us what movie we're actually doing next
Oh,
week.
that's true. Ryan. I am Groot.
So why don't you two continue on a little bit of a...
So, but
Ow.
I didn't
But
mean to hit that
this
one.
is pretty much a Kickstarter thing. And would you actually consider about doing some movie if somebody actually came out and asked, "Hey, can we borrow your equipment to do a movie?"
Yeah, probably. You know what? And I kind of like the Kickstarter idea. If somebody can come up with something original enough and new enough that that normal Hollywood wouldn't do, short of the Sundance Film Festival situation
Well,
where you've got all
So
these
this,
shorts.
Yeah.
this is what
You
we're
know.
gonna, this is what we're going to do again. James and I have talked about doing. We're going to find more movie shorts, generally 10 to 20 minutes, and this is what we'll throw our weight behind when we talk about this, because we all here agree that movie shorts are more innovative than most of the movies we've seen. What do you two think?
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I
the
can't
thing
get
that
Ryan,
comes
so-
that I
Okay.
come back to
It's nice
is
having you, Ryan.
that we'll just put what film we're going to be doing in the thing, but we're still talking about this. Is that this is why I got sick and tired of American movies that were coming out, and I actually, when I started watching the more of what would be the indie films that you would think that are coming out of Canada, they're coming out of the Middle East, surprisingly enough.
Right. Obviously, Bollywood's pushing a bunch
I was
of
gonna say
stuff, too.
besides Bollywood,
Right.
A lot of
but
singing
you
and
can
dancing.
find other things. But actually, the ones that are putting out movies, and the problem is that you do have to watch them as subtitled or horribly dubbed, is Thailand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chocolate
Thailand
Fighter.
is putting out
I remember
really
that's
good
right.
movies.
Was it Chocolate Fighter?
Yeah, Chocolate Fighter and Raging Phoenix, and I mean Tony's Jaw's coming out of there, and there's that little girl that come out of there. But they actually have good movies. I mean, you do have to kind of do a little bit of cultural research and accept some of their cultural beliefs and things that, not to accept it, but to understand.
Or at least get past it.
Yeah, to get past it or to understand that it's going to be in the movie. But there's a lot of interesting films that have come out of there.
So with that being
Anyway.
said, next week's movie
Hello, Ryan.
is being picked by the man in his box. So, Ryan, what movie are you doing or picking, or you know what I mean?
I decided that I was going to pick this movie before we recorded this, but now I'm really excited because it almost seems to be in revenge of Rob's rating.
Oh, you're asking for it.
I'm taking it back a little bit earlier to my favorite independent movie of all time, and the thing that
Super?
got me interested in stuff that wasn't just big budget, and that would be Clerks.
Yep, I knew it.
Wow, I didn't expect Clerks.
Actually, once he said that he was bringing it back to an old indie, and I'm like,
I can
Clerks.
understand.
Clerks.
So,
I can't remember much of it, but I saw it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as Rob said, we're doing. Excuse me, as Ryan said, we're doing the movie Clerks. I gave the movie Funny People a 2 out of 5. James gave it a 4 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 4 out of 5. The old guy Rob gave it a 2 out of 5. We're doing Clerks next week. Ryan gave it a 4 out of 5. A 5 out of 5.
There you go.
I was kind
Just trying to get that
I was gonna,
straightened out.
demote him a little bit.
So,
And as usual, we'll see you next week.
see you next week. Come on. I'm ready.
Thank you.